All right, guys. So today we do have the one and only DVN, aka DVN. His real name is David Van Noy. For those that don't know who this guy is, from the Midwest, the great old Kansas City, Missouri. And we're gonna, um, for those that don't know him, he's had thousands upon thousands of personal home sales in his career. Okay. The man has been just instrumental in myself, Rich, Adamski's success. I mean, honestly, he was the architect or the mind mapping coach that I had, that I went from 500 to over a million in 1 year when my market was doing this, and we had to figure out a way to get to that. So, DVN, welcome. I really appreciate your time coming on. And please, we have now 15 guests. There's more coming on. I see coming on right now. I'll keep adding people in, but feel free to take it away. And this is going to be an open discussion, guys, just so everyone knows. So if DVN says something, please, I want everyone to jump in and ask questions. This is what he's here for, to make this as valuable as possible in your lives. So take it away, my friend.
Cool. So if you've never heard me before, there's not going to be a lot of fluff, no intro. I'm going to try to get right to the meat, and I'm going to try to give you some stuff you can use today. So what I've done is I've compiled a list. So in my years of working and coaching and studying under Mike Ferry with all these guys, what I've done is I've kept an ongoing document that I call 100 ways to add 25 deals to your business. So I imagine everybody on this call could add 25 deals, and that would be a positive thing. What I'm going to encourage you to do is, just like a lot of the material that's out there, some of these points are going to seem a little bit basic. I'm going to ask you, just for the portion of this call, to do a couple things for me. One is to actually consider the root of how powerful some of the basic points can be, and then ask yourself, and maybe write it down in the form of a question. If we go through a point, ask yourself, what would happen if I actually did this? All right, so we're going to go through a couple of those now. I hope that it brings out some questions that you have, and it is going to be more of a conversation, which I prefer. So if you have something, let me know when we get to those questions. So let's start with the rules of selling. And I will share all these notes afterwards too. So make your notes, but I'll share the whole document with anybody that would like it. And I'll give it to Dean so he can disseminate. All right, so the rules of selling. First thing I'm going to tell you is telling is not selling. Selling is asking questions. When we go through this, I listen to salespeople record their conversations. We have this burning desire to be right, to share our knowledge, to tell them the answer, especially when we see the answer to the question. This is killing you every single day. So I know 22 years in the business and accurately 3,000 plus homes sold. I have clients every day that say, "What do you think I should do?" I had a client last week. He said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. Now that you've seen it, what should the price be?" Right? And I said, this was what I said to him. I said, at this point in my career, I'm far less interested in what I think, and I'm way more interested in what people are saying and what the market is saying. So let's look at that. I'm just less interested in what I think. Now, especially if you find a hard charging driver that's trying to get you to pinpoint down, like, you tell me your price and I'll decide if I'm going to hire you or not. I'm just less interested in what I think all the time. Let me share with you the facts. Okay. Telling is not selling. It is a trap if they say, "What do you think?" That your brain should trigger and go, "No, no, no. DVN told me never answer that question." Almost never. Now, if you have a reasonable person, they get through and they go, "Okay, here's what I think." And then they bring it all the way down to, "I really do want to know what you think." You can share it, but soften it. We all make the mistake of thinking, if I show up and I give them the right answers, I'm going to be hired. Never. Make me feel important. Right? We all know that. MMFI. That's what you should see on their forehead. Take an analytical person. And what is the number one thing that, this is interesting. Somebody answer this for me. What is an analytical person looking for?
Data.
Data. Thank you for saying data, because David, we all think that analyticals are looking for data, but guess what? They don't trust your data. They don't like your data. Your data is skewed. You are a liar. You are a salesperson. They don't want your data. You know what they want? They want
Their
to
data.
they know their data. Thank you, Bobby. They want to be right and they want to be heard. The number one thing that I'm trying to get in a conversation with an analytical is you might be the smartest seller I've ever met with. You just might be the smartest. Could you come coach some of these other sellers that I'm working on how to understand pricing? You are something else. Now, did any of the analyticals get a little tingly when I said that? Be honest. All right, so make them feel important, make them right. They do not care what you think. Underline that. They do not care. They don't care what I think. They don't care what you think. Next point. Understand that you're a salesperson, not a public servant. Your job is to generate leads, convert them to appointments, ask them for the business, and then determine if you want it. Now, why do I say it that way? Because we all make this mistake of trying to skip ahead a little bit in determining if we want the deal while we're trying to pursue the deal. And that changes the chemistry of the conversation. I'm going to encourage you to do this. Always position every single person you talk to like, I'm trying to set this appointment. I'm trying to list this home. Once you have it, you can determine from a better place of decision-making if I'd like to keep this appointment or not. The pre-qual is not included in the prospecting. Even if it's the same call, I want you to separate that in your mind. Does Wednesday at 4 o'clock or does Thursday at 4 o'clock work better? Well, we'll take Thursday at 4 o'clock. Great. New call. Now that I have you set, let's talk about some of these questions that I have. Totally new call. Now we're going to determine, do I even want to go on this appointment? Right? And if you separate it into multiple calls, it's easier to think that way. The pre-qual is an opportunity to determine if you want the business. When you get good enough to realize that you can turn down some of that bad business, and it's not even good enough. It's just you have enough business, and then you get to choose who you want to work with. In the beginning, it's difficult. Next point. We all have the same leads. Whoever gets there first will generally win. And follow-up is 70% of your income. So if we all have the same leads, we know whoever gets there first will win. Why do we wait and let things marinate? Why do we tell them, I'll get back to you? Why do we tell them, I'll call you tomorrow? You have to be able to push through that. Now, the leads come in, and I still receive leads from our team because I see when they come in. And you know the leads that I like to take? Easter Sunday at 8:30 p.m. Happy Easter. Just got your information here. Would you like to see this house? No, I was just curious. That makes two of us. That makes two of us. All right. Next point. Don't be attached to the outcome ever. Their outcome over your income. Now, this is rooted as one of the basic points that you go, oh, yeah, that's right. I always think about my clients first. No, you don't. And here's how you know you're attached to the outcome. And we've all been here, but somebody says, listen, I think I'm going to go a different direction. I'd like to take my house off the market, blah, 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 blah. And what happens? The rest of your day goes right in the shitter because now this person not seeing your value has now become the only thing you can think about. So this is not something that we're born with, by the way, because people say, oh, yeah, you can do that because you're you and you can just move on and you don't care. I have feelings too. They're way inside here. I have them. I just don't show them in this part. And so I was talking to a close friend of mine, Josh Barker, who's one of the best agents in the country, if not the best. And I said, Josh, when this happens, I feel like this. And he said, here's what you have to understand. Everybody feels the same initially. It's the decisions that you make next that separates you from everyone else. And this is not something we attack ourselves. Oh, I'm just not wired that way. Oh, I'm just different. I really care about my clients. No, you don't. You care about you and your pocketbook when it comes to that part. You're just being a baby. And all that does is ruin the rest of your. So how do you practice this? You're going to see it today. It's going to come up. Negativity is going to pop in and someone's going to go, I don't care for what you're doing. And you're going to have an opportunity to experience that emotion quickly and then move forward with, no, this is my chance. I'm not going to ruminate. I'm not going to tell the story. I'm not going to say it again. And let's add that. Stop telling the story, because nobody cares about the story. They really, truly don't. Right? Nobody cares about the story at all. Stop telling it. There is no such thing in this department as therapy. Getting it off your chest does not exist. The more you discuss it, the more energy you give it, the more you create. So if anybody on this call's in a slump and you're like, man, I just feel like everybody's kind of doing this. Well, everybody's not doing anything. You're the person and you're the common denominator. If you're seeing a pattern anywhere in your life, you've created it 100%. We have salespeople, they go out every single time they come back. Oh, I had to take 2%. Why is it that every time you go, they insist on 2%, but when anybody else goes, they'll pay 3.9? Do you think it's you just get the worst people? No, it's you. All right, I'm on a heater. I'm going to keep going. Next one is stop letting your ego get in the way of deals. I'm going to encourage everybody after this call to go to ChatGPT. I'm going to provide the prompt and you're going to plug in to ChatGPT. I need to start working on my ego. Don't go easy on me. As a therapist, please break down some of the areas where I'm holding myself back. Has anybody plugged some stuff like that into ChatGPT for therapy? I get some smiles. I'm going to take that as a yes. Here's what you're going to find. There's things that you're hiding from yourself. Your ego is really the part of your brain that's protecting you from the realities of the world. And the difficult part about this business is some people with big egos do really well, so that's confusing. And sometimes because of your own ego, you perceive that someone has a big ego because of the way that they present certain material. The reality is everybody who's doing more than you is doing something that you're not willing to do. And if that's the case, the only thing that's hiding you from that piece is your ego. And it shows up because if I were to have a one-on-one with anybody on this call, I would say, how's your results? Well, here's what you have to understand. Well, I don't have to understand. This must be how your clients feel. I have to understand. I didn't come here to understand. I just want to know what to do. Tell me what to do. Why is this all about you? It's not about you. All right. Next one is understand the importance of follow through on everything that you do, personal as well. I'm going to share with you how this affected me in a large way because, again, very basic point. And for years in my business, I thought, yeah, I'm doing that. Yeah, I'm following through. Oh, no, I show up. Nobody else shows up. I call back usually when they say call. Here's the thing, though. I would say, I'm going to make 40 contacts today. And my coach would say, did you make 40 contacts? Well, I hit 37. So that was pretty good. Yeah, but why didn't you hit 40? I mean, come on. It's like 37. I'll hit 43 tomorrow. How's that sound? The integrity piece that you're missing is everything. It's not about 37 versus 40. You could have got 100% of the result from 37. Here's what you're missing. If I say I'm going to make 40, I make 40. If I say I'm going to make 50, I'm going to make 50. And you may be underestimating what the universe will provide to you if you do exactly what you say you're going to do. And it's so powerful, I can't say it loud enough. And everybody on this call is violating it because somebody will say to you, well, yeah, what'd you do? Oh, this is what I did. But you kind of know, you're like, eh. We see it a lot when people get on stage and they go, oh, I'm doing 150 deals. That is a powerful statement if you're not actually doing that. And this is a good way to recognize that you're not right-sized, by the way, in terms of your ego. If you're not willing to present exactly who you are and be proud of that moment, that's not sales, by the way. That's not marketing. That's bullshit. And if you're bullshitting yourself, you may be surprised that everybody else knows it. They just don't tell you, because you don't have coaches like me that will just tell you that's bullshit. And you don't have enough honest people around you to say, Kathy, nobody believes that. Why are you saying that? So start by believing everything that you say. And the way that you believe everything you say is do it if you say it. Anything so far, or should I move on to the next point?
I think you should just keep on going, dude. This is fire.
All right. Next piece is understand. No, I did that. The next piece is learn to delegate everything. Now I'm going to add some caveats here, because this is a point that's often very confused by salespeople. I'll work with someone one-on-one and I'll say, you got to delegate this stuff, because you're micromanaging all your people and you're micromanaging the process. You're staying in the weeds because you're avoiding the things you should be doing. But here's what happens. Then real life comes in, real stuff happens. Someone's calling, trying to give me a deal. I don't answer my phone during prospecting time. I'll talk to you later. Sorry, busy. You're not prospecting. You haven't hit your contacts. You're not doing anything outbound. Now you're just using that point to avoid everything in your life that's bringing good energy. So delegating everything means stop hovering over things that don't need your help and adding layers. It doesn't mean that you're not an operative part of your business. I had a point in my business where I was like, I'm going to be like John Paul DiGiorio. I'm going to check my email once a week and just let me know if we get a paycheck. Right? It was like, I'm going to delegate everything, including me. And let's just see if things work. Guess what? They don't. And I work with the highest level producers. If you've read the book Relentless, I got a copy right next to me. I read it at least once a year. In the book, he talks about Michael Jordan. If you remember this story, do you remember this, Aaron, what he says about Michael Jordan and how he owns the process?
Read the book a couple years ago. I don't remember the exact point, but maybe
Okay.
when you say it, yeah.
So one of the things I found very interesting is he said Michael Jordan, all he did well was play basketball, but he owned the process. If he was having people come to the game that night, he secured their tickets personally. If he was going to be showing up at the stadium, it was clean car, suit, ready to go. And he said that might be the one chance that that kid has to see Michael Jordan. I'm going to make sure that I bring my best. He owned all parts of the process. You have enough energy to own all parts of the process. I'm going to encourage you. It's not delegating in terms of responsibility. It's not delegating in terms of decision. Just make those faster. Own the entire process. Delegate the parts where people have job descriptions that do not include you. Is that clear?
You gotta say that again.
I'm going to try.
That was strong. I couldn't type it fast enough, but it was one of those.
What?
I got okay. You said own the entire process.
Own the entire process. Don't avoid responsibility.
Right.
Don't avoid decisions.
Right.
You can make those faster. What did I say after that?
And then you push
I
it
have
back
this part
out.
written down. I'm just bringing this, huh?
I know.
It's recorded. It's recorded. Don't worry.
Okay, good. Okay. I think what I said is you can own the entire part of the process and still be focused on what you're doing. You have enough energy for that. So we get this idea that because we're low on energy, that we should start avoiding all the things that would actually influence the business. No, just avoid the parts where you're making it tedious where it doesn't need to be. Making a bad decision fast is better than not making a decision at all. And this is inside of deals. When your values are clear, your decisions are simple. So if you find yourself on a regular basis going through and saying, I don't know, should we share a commission? Should we pay a co-op? Should we cut our fee on this? Should we do this is not a decision-making problem. This is a value problem. You're not clear exactly how you handle things. There's absolutely nothing that could happen inside of a deal today where we don't have a value that's clear on how we operate. Oh, when that happens, we step out. When that happens, we don't reduce a fee. We do, we don't. Your values have to be clear. If you find yourself getting caught up on decisions, go back and just look at who am I and what do I do? What values do I bring to the table in regards to these decisions, and review them. Makes decisions easier. Question? Okay. All right. Next piece. This is going to blow you away. This one. Stop thinking that anyone has an unfair advantage. Everyone you know that is selling more than you, and I already gave you this point, I'm bringing it back again. They've done a lot of things that you're not willing to do to get there. This is a really hard reality, and one that I struggled with. Oh, these people are doing these, that they have all this, but yeah, but that's because they know these people and they got that deal and I didn't get that deal. That's the only reason they're beating me. Ego, right? Protecting me from the reality that I don't have that relationship. I don't have that deal. I don't have that listing. Why is that? So we separate this piece. When you go through every single day and you get on a coaching call and you say, why didn't I make my contacts this week? Don't care. Don't care. Don't care why, because we're looking forward. But you have a separate part where you have the ability to look at why are some of these things happening to me? And that's not every day, and that's not during the day, and that's not when you're producing forward. Why is this stuff happening to me is reserved for the part where you're actually evaluating, willing to make larger decisions about how you operate. Does that make sense? No one has an unfair advantage. You're just not doing enough of the right things. And the people that win are doing the right things 100% of the time. The people that lose, if you haven't heard this point before, it's not mine. The people that lose do the right thing some of the time. And then sometimes they don't. And we're all guilty of this piece because it's like, man, I don't know what happened. I made 40 contacts a day, 3 out of 5 days this week. That's pretty great. 100% of your result was associated with getting to 5 days, which was your goal. Yeah, but there's got to be a better way. Like I made 40 contacts and I didn't get anybody. Well, the wins are associated with doing exactly what you say you're going to do. And when you do that, then you can come back to me and say, now why? Now let's reevaluate. We're all stuck in a process of reevaluating without proper evidence. Michael, we measure things with a teaspoon and then come back and go, oh, I wonder if this soup's right. You don't have enough of it. It hasn't marinated. You haven't done your job to the fullest to come back, and you don't have the right to come back and say, I don't think this is working. The part of it that you're working on, how would you ever know? You wouldn't. Do the exact right things that you know to do every single day for a full week, and then come back and ask somebody why, including yourself. Oh gosh, this point. Stop thinking about volume and ego. Profit is the only thing that matters in your business. I think 6 people just logged off on that point. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about your volume or your ego. This is the confusing thing about our business, is because you look at social media and it's like, oh my gosh, she posted another closing. She's killing it. It's like looking at someone and they have their, I love my spouse so much. I'm so happy for 20 years. Bullshit. That's how you know those people are headed for divorce, which is exactly how I know your business is in the shitter too. Because look at all the sales I'm making. I'm so involved in the business. Those are the people that are probably doing the worst. But we compare ourselves to those people and we think, God, I must be doing something wrong. I need to reevaluate. I made 40 contacts. I did not. And all they did was social media, and they're winning. No, they're projecting. And when your ego is feeble, you absorb all of that and think, maybe I should do something different. Maybe I should be a YouTube sensation. Anybody thinking they should do that? Yeah. Bobby, you're the one who could.
That's it, baby.
Mr. Beast. Let's see. Consider the power of affirmations. They work positively and negatively. Another ChatGPT hack, go to ChatGPT. What I do is I program in some of the books and some of the people that I follow, and I just say, these are the books I like. Here's the 10 books that I've read recently that I like. And then I'll say, based on that, write me out 100 affirmations that I can use daily. And then, right? Here's the hack, though. Everybody knows you can do that. Here's the hack. Go and select the text in ChatGPT and click read aloud. And now ChatGPT, like your Audible, is going to read the affirmations to you while you drive. 100 of them. That's an exciting point for somebody. Maybe one person on this call. Bobby, you like that?
Love it.
Hey, DVN, I have a question.
Yeah.
So going back to the point about profit is the only thing that matters, and that, going like to thinking about everyone has an unfair advantage, just stop thinking this way. Okay, what can the majority of us, or is there any examples in your personal life that you went through in your career that you were, I don't know if it's a victim kind of mentality or something like that, but how did you transition? What action did you take? Let's just assume that it's all this, but let's just, was there anything specific that's outside of these overall surface points that you did to enable you to think in the right direction like this? And was there a moment? Was it a process? What did that look like for you?
Here's where I noticed that it was showing up a lot. And this is how I knew I had to work on this. So it starts with awareness. And here's how you know. I was in a big office before I started this company 2.5 years ago. They had a little monthly plaque, and man, that's the only thing I wanted to do is make that monthly plaque. And there was about 250 agents in the office. And if I got to be the top dog in that office, then I'd get to peacock around like for a whole month. Like I'm the man, right? And I had some people that were kind enough around me that were honest with me that were like, who cares? Like, nobody else even sees that board. Well, I don't know. And I'm like, what drives me? It drives me. I want to win. I want to beat these people. Yeah, maybe. And so when I left the office, I thought, well, what am I going to do without that fuel? Now I don't care to beat all those people. How am I going to win? Here's what I realized. I was so caught up in the highs and the lows of making it or not that it wasn't actually moving my business forward. I wasn't doing more because of it. I was just allowed to beat myself up if I lost, which is what we're all addicted to, by the way. Because real estate is this exciting game where we get to lose all the time too. Did you know that you're addicted to losing? You know, there's a casino in your town where there's thousands of people a day that go lose money every day. Why would they do that? Did you know that you get a dopamine hit every time you lose too? And it's like that little kid inside of you that's like, where's dad? Is he coming home? And it gets kicked right in the nuts every time. And they go, oh, that's so familiar. Oh, it feels good. You can get off of that. You can get off of that train completely because it's not about that. So you have to shift to what actually matters. And it's a difficult thing in our business because the person who posts the biggest number, the person whoever gets to win publicly. And you see these people I got so many agents in my market. I'm number one. I'm the number one individual listing agent for this county on this side of the block. And that's our business. So I would just encourage you to be aware of the fact that you don't have to think about it that way. What you have to identify is an actual source of fuel that really gets you excited and gets you out of bed. And I promise you, it's not that, not long term. Good on that?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Next point, think very big for at least 15 minutes a day. Write down something that is a really aggressive goal. Now, some people have the problem that all they do is think big. And all they do is think about 5 steps ahead of where they are. The reason I'm asking you to take 15 minutes because half of the people never take a minute to think about what's actually possible and where they could go. The other half, all they do is think about how big it could be if they could just hit it big. And nothing in this business works that way. There is no hit it big. You get one really big listing and everybody's going to recognize now that John is the #1 best agent of all time because he got this listing and nobody else could, and nobody cares. And you get no feed off of that, and you get no juice. And then, by the way, you get fired 2 weeks later because they realize that you're not the best person for the job. And now all of a sudden you can kill yourself because all your esteem is gone, right? Why ride that roller coaster? It just doesn't have to be that way. Thinking big is about where could this life go if I do everything I say I'm going to do and everything I know to do every day. And so I'm going to add an auxiliary point on this. I have coaching calls with people every single week, and we work on fundamentals. And people generally get to the point where they say, I'm really tired of talking about fundamentals. Well, that's because you haven't graduated to the point where you get to talk about something cool. So the idea that you get to graduate to talk about something exciting, because the last thing I want to talk about is contacts. And the last thing I want to talk about is how to structure your day. But when it's necessary, we have to review that. And if you find yourself going back to the basic points a lot, what you have to recognize is you're not doing the things you know to do first. Jordan Peterson said it that way. He said, sit on the edge of your bed and think about all the stuff that you're doing that's bad for you and say, well, what if I stop doing that? And then adversely, look at the things. I know that I need to be doing this. I know that I should eat the right things every day, but still I show up every day and I have this idea that I'm going to make better decisions without a plan. It doesn't work. You would literally have to decide exactly what you're going to eat. Last night, I plugged it into my ChatGPT. I went online and I ordered from the local company exactly what I'm going to eat for the week. You know why? I cannot be trusted. I have to have a plan. I have to know exactly what I'm going to eat. Otherwise, the elephant's going to take over and I'm going to ride that thing wherever it decides to go, right? So your business is no different. And you have this little structure, you have this schedule, you have this plan, you have, oh, I'm on the group, I'm trying to make 30 contacts today. And you and I both know everything else happens but that. Why is that? Because you have options. And when you have options, then so do the clients. And it tends to be not you. Who's thinking about something that, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to ask you about that point because I feel like a lot of us, including myself, is that you get into this like, well, you know what, DVN, I could do this. I can make my 40 contacts a day. I can work 5 days a week. There's no problem with that. I'm a hard worker. I could do all these different things. But then as soon as I get into this rigid schedule and now I have I put myself in this box, to your point about the options, how do you make that shift in your mind that it's not about the options, but you can still go to cooler things in your business? Like where's that shift? Because I feel like a lot of us feel like, well, if I do all those things, I'm not going to have energy. I'm not going to have options. I'm not going to have all these different cool things that I know are that we can attain to later because I'm doing this activity at the highest level possible. And that's all I could give at the moment.
Here's what I'll share with you on this. Life is a process of elimination. It is not a process of selection. We all think it's a process of selection. It's not. You only have the ability to eliminate the things that are not serving you, and then you're left with the things that will work. So if you start with a master list of all the things that you think you could do for the day, and then you whittle it all the way down, what you'll realize is everything else that you've eliminated, now you're choosing something that will actually provide a result. That's the only way that you can get focused. When I show up at my office on a Saturday, I'm excited because nobody's here. I can do anything I want to do. It's very difficult, but I have to block focus to determine exactly what I'm going to work on. Because if I decide I'm going to build out a presentation for this group and I spend 1 hour doing it, it's going to be solid. But if I show up and I say, I'm just going to work on this a little bit, I'm going to work on this, I'm just going to see what happens to me, and I think I get credit for showing up to the office, nobody cares. What did you actually accomplish? So let me add this point, and this will be my final point here, and then we can have any conversation that you'd like. But what I'd like you to do is rate your commitment to your schedule at minimum every single hour. Now, I've seen high-level people do this, and I've seen a lot of people write this point down and go, ooh, I'm going to do that, and nobody ever does it. But I've seen people actually do it, and guess what they find out? They weren't nearly as productive as they thought they were. They weren't nearly as committed as they thought they were. And by the way, here's the scariest part. They weren't even doing the things they thought they were doing. How is that possible? I mean, I don't know. That may be the biggest opportunity that we could possibly stumble upon. You're not even doing what you think you're doing. You're checking your email, you're scrolling, you're responding, you're thinking about the books you want to read. You like the environment. You like the idea, the proximity to getting better. I like the proximity. But are you actually doing it? And now listen, I have to have it come to Jesus with myself and say, look, you've been arguing with yourself about this diet. And then these things, you've been arguing with yourself about what you want to do in this direction of the company. Let's outline it and post it and say, this is it. And until you do that, nothing changes, by the way. Have we all experienced that? Bobby, did you unmute because you're going to share that?
Yeah. I love that. Rate your commitment to your schedule at a minimum of every single hour. So what's an example? How can you actually take that inventory? Is there a specific,
So you take your call structure, right? And you say, I'm going to call expireds from 8 o'clock until 9:30. Example. At 9 o'clock, how many expireds have you called? How many have you pitched? How many have you set? If you from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, just do a quick review and go, okay, what did I do? Now, we skip past that part and go, oh, I'm not supposed to dwell. Like you mix up some of the points now. I'm not supposed to dwell on that. I'm supposed to produce in the direction of my energy now. And I'm supposed to just move on to something else. But there is a moment where now you rate it and you say, I got to give myself a 2 on that. Now you document it and you move on. But you go back for the week, just like your little food tracker there and go, oh, I remember that. Okay. Why is that? And why does it happen? But then the next cycle of negotiation is, everybody has that. Everybody does that. True. Except the people that are winning at the highest level. They don't do that. So what they say is, I'm noticing a pattern that on Thursdays at 8, if I'm not excited about the expireds, I just don't do it. So should I, Bobby? Should I just cut that down to 30 minutes and really do it? Should I cut it out altogether? Right? So you have quadrants where you can make decisions from. You don't do it in the moment. But when you go back and revisit that with Bobby on Sunday night and say, what do I want to do this week? And you look at it. Am I actually doing it? I have to do this every week. I have to look at my time blocks and go, yeah, that
microphone check.
Show it to someone and they say, that's badass. Are you it?
Technical. Can't hear you, David. It's frozen.
Devian, are you there?
I froze?
Oh, there you go. Yeah, you were freezing, going in and out. Oh, there you go again.
Check that Wi-Fi.
Okay. I'm freezing. Well, where am I at now? Am I okay?
I think so.
Okay. I'll try not to move.
Good, guys. Well, hey, guys, now is the time for questions. We got a few more minutes to please answer. Devian.
Whatever you want, open it up. Let's take some wild ones. Who's got something juicy?
Teddy usually does for you. But
Teddy, give me something juicy, Teddy.
Kathy, go ahead.
It's so funny because like as we're going through this meeting, I'm literally talking to AI about some of the things that you're saying, and I asked for an ego check, and talked about some of my own personal like pitfalls and stuff. It's interesting what it comes back with. Just makes you think, because obviously it can't be like a therapist, but it can definitely make you think about why it is you kind of like get to the point you get to. So I definitely recommend it. But we've met before. I always struggle with like personal motivation. Like I have a ton of ideas. I'm smart, I'm efficient, I'm a forward thinker, but I seem to only ever apply those traits to the success of others and not myself. And even when I get like super excited about something, there's always like a point, like I hit a wall where like I literally lose all motivation. I'm just like, I don't wanna. I wanna come home, I wanna cook dinner, I wanna eat dinner, and I wanna unplug mentally. I don't wanna think about a thing. And it's probably definitely a lot to do with, fear of failure and, some other things. But I always find your take interesting. So yeah.
Two important things that I'm going to share with you on that real quick. Okay. You said two things that really stood out to me. Can we have a private moment in front of everybody?
I'm fine. Yep.
So everything in all of our lives, everything in terms of how we're winning or not winning comes back to our ability to accept that we deserve it.
Mm.
So if you go back to ChatGPT as your unemotional therapist and you ask, why do I feel like I don't deserve the same success that Dean has? Then you might find some things out about that. Let's see, the second piece. What did you say at the end?
That I hit a wall and I lose motivation. Like I just want to come home and unplug.
Yeah. So the second piece that I noticed, and this is something for all us to think about too, I encourage salespeople, especially, to figure out how to be the same everywhere you are. When you recognize that at work you're high and at home you're low, then what you have to recognize there's a lack of congruency there. You need to be the same everywhere you go. The way that I am on this call is the same way I'll be on a COI call afterwards, is the same I am with my kids. It's the same I am everywhere. You have to work towards that. If you recognize a variance in your energy level, what you're doing is pretending to be something that you're not at work, or you're pretending to be something that you're not at home, and neither one of those are allowed. So that means you have to show up exactly who you are in both and find the people that accept that.
Thank you for saying that.
That's great.
To me, that's the mic drop of this entire conversation. I've been working on this specifically with Dean lately because I've been struggling with that for pretty much my entire real estate career, with the imposter syndrome. Oh, they're going to find me out. I was a stand-up comedian, for 10 years and become this clown and not take me seriously. And so it's that rigid approach to everything. And he's put me through this interesting out of the box exercise the last few weeks where we've been role playing, where I've just been outlandish in the conversation, right? Just saying off the cuff, just go. And then taking that and bringing it into the real conversation. And what a liberating, game-changing feeling that is. And it speaks to exactly what you just said. You got to be who you are on and off, the stage. And it doesn't mean that if you're on the stage, the stage, having been a performer, you're a personification, of course, because you are performing, but it should still be you. And so just you bringing that to light today, it just highlights that even more. So it's like, being more of yourself, being more of you in life. When I used to do stand-up, I remember in the early days, one of the club owners used to say to me, like, you got something, you're funny, I see it, but you sound a lot like a black guy when you're on the stage. Like, are you part black? Are you from the hood? Or are you? I'm like, no. I'm like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, so she called me out on it, and it was like, because I emulated my favorite comedian, which was Richard Pryor. I wanted to sound like Richard Pryor. And she's like, that's great, but that's not you. And you need to be yourself on stage. And ever since
that's probably pretty funny though.
Oh, hilarious. It was hilarious on stage. Like, who was this guy? But what a lesson. What a lesson. And I feel like that's I believe that's what you're saying here today.
The point usually resonates, and people usually feel like there's something to do with the point. What I'd encourage everyone to do is really actually go and work on that and look at that point, because that point will not just absorb, and you will not catch that and start to embody that just based on hearing it alone. You have to actually look at, why am I not accepting the blessings that are available to me? Right, Teddy? You're the best, Teddy. You got to remember that.
Kathy, go ahead. You had a question. We don't want to skip out. Kat, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know how you handle burnout. I know, Bobby, you know me very well. I was at every Mike Ferry event, Mike Ferry coaching for years, went to every single event, had a mastermind group, I was prospecting every single day, my prospecting group, making, 30 to 40 contacts a day in 3 hours. And it changed. 2019, 2020, I'm making 5 or 6 contacts an hour. So instead of sitting here at my desk for the devoted, concentrated, heavy prospecting of 3 hours, it started to change to 5 and 6 hours just to make my 30 contacts a day. And I got so burnt out. I stopped doing it and my business plummeted. I went from the number one agent in my Sotheby's office where I am to burnout. And I couldn't do it anymore. And obviously now I'm back in with Dean's group, trying to make up for lost time, if you will. But I still find that I don't know how to get over this burnout in my head.
Can I ask you a couple questions on that, Kathy?
Please.
You said I find that I experience this burnout, right? Are you willing to entertain the idea that you're creating most of this?
Yeah, it's mindset, 100%, and I don't know how to overcome it, honestly.
Okay. What if it were just as simple as realizing that you have to ask yourself when you're willing to be done with it?
How do I do that if I'm still making 5 or 6 contacts an hour? It's still
So recognize this. I don't know much about you, but I'm just going to answer that point based on what you're telling me.
Mm-hmm.
You are looking for evidence that Kathy is failing. And you're finding it.
Mm-hmm.
And that should not be a surprise to Kathy or anybody else.
No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
So now, you want to know how? It's this simple. It's really this part. Really, some things are a dial and some things are a switch, Kathy. You could leave this call and decide that the only thing you do is look for evidence that Kathy's winning.
Mm-hmm.
And your mantra should be, when it's hard, I push through it. And I enjoy doing the hard things. I enjoy overcoming it. And you should embody that everywhere. You should look for it. I go work out with my trainer at 1 o'clock. And I tell him the reason I come here is because I can never get it right. And it's so hard. I love it. Go back to your contacts today and remind yourself, I love that this work is so tedious. Nobody else can do this except me.
Well, the funny thing about it is I love prospecting. I actually enjoy it. It's just getting my head turned around about it now. And having to sit here for hours, ring, 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 ring. That's where I start losing interest. And I don't know how.
It's not the universe. It's not numbers. It's not the date that you selected. It's none. I promise you, it's none of those things. I promise you that. So obviously we can't go too deep on it, but just consider that.
Can I say something to it? Yeah, it's Wojtek. Can I say something to you, Kathy? It may be also the sources, because maybe you need to change environment. I mean, like I had situations like that. I'm like, I need to change something because it's comfortable. You sit in the office, have headset, you do things every day, repetitive. But like one day, I'm like, I said, screw it. I just stepped out and went door knocking. It was so refreshing that it was like, well, I can't believe people answer the door. People are actually nice. People, again, I mean, in my climate right now, it's getting, to 84, 85 degrees. So it's a very short period, the window of time you can do it. But that's just an idea. Maybe just change the way you do things, because you feel like on the sitting in India, with all due respect, answering calls all day, and that's just it's exhausting. It's exhausting, and literally, if you have a good neighborhood, you can knock down 20, 30 in 3 hours or less than that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, wrapping up, Dean.
Yeah, well, guys, this is I mean, this is better than I expected, to be honest. So good job, DVN. I wrote down, look at this. You want to see something crazy? That's an entire page of the notes. I'm still, dude, I'm a student of this game. I love this game.
Yeah.
I love learning, but ultimately putting everything to action, as we always talk about. We talked a lot about that today. Hopefully you guys got, a lot of value, because I know I did. I know a lot of us, I'm seeing a lot of heads that are shaking. This will be going up on YouTube. I just want to, sorry, DV, I'm just going to throw that out there. This whole session, I think, is going to be impactful for many,
who
many
I say I
agents.
am, Dean. Everywhere I go, I'm the same.
That's right. That's right. Well, guys, listen, if you guys want to reach out to DVM, feel free to reach out.
With the wins. Shower me.
Yes. And by the way, and just I want to put this out there before everyone goes. The one great thing about you, DVN, it's another kind of accolade, but it is something that's not talked about enough, is that anytime I thought I had a really dumb question, or I had this like stupid thought, or whatever that I didn't think was a quality question, let's say, DVN never made me feel small. And if there's anything that I've learned from you, DVN, from a coaching perspective and training perspective, is that that's always been something that I always looked at, because that wasn't how I grew up, and the fact that you gave me that in my real estate career was certainly quite the point. So thank you, everybody. Reach out to DVN, myself, or Rich, and we'll be here for you guys.
Thanks, Steve.
Hey guys.
Thank you.